Good afternoon and welcome to all joining us this afternoon. I am Takis Damaskopoulos, the ERA chair of the InfoRact project, which is funded by the European Commission. The project is run at the Kaunas University of Technology, and its purpose is to explore the implications of Industry 4 as a phenomenon for management, practices, and economics. This is part of the first round of interviews we are doing with distinguished decision makers from the worlds of business and the policy-making establishment, but also academics in Lithuania and internationally, organized by the project on the state of Industry 4. It is our great pleasure to have with us today Mr. Gediminas Rainys, who is an economic advisor at the Association of Lithuanian Chambers of Commerce, Industry and Crafts, to explore the current status and challenges of Industry 4 across Lithuanian companies and the Lithuanian economy. Good afternoon and welcome, Mr. Rainys.
Good afternoon for everyone.
Great to have you with us. May I please ask, if the first question is, how would you assess the current state of Industry 4 across the Lithuanian economy and companies today?
Yes, first of all, I am very, very glad that we have industry, and industry is pretty big pie of Lithuanian economy, some 20% of GDP. Remembering that in 2000 we had very big crisis. At that time, we were heavily incorporated to Eastern markets, crisis in 2009, etc. I always considered that all other sectors of business, let it be consumer services or banks or let's say tourism itself, you need to have income, you need to have money, and always told that having some 20% of industry, it's always good precondition for functioning of overall economy. And the second aspect, I'm also very glad that after pandemic-related crisis, of course, with support of some promotional measures, industry seems okay. All kind of sectors. The single one, it's all related to movement of persons, like tourism agencies, some hotels, accommodation sector, etc. But that is general impression about industry. What concerns more modern industry, of course, process is going on. We have a lot of initiatives related to e-commerce, and again, pandemic simply forced business very heavily turn to e-commerce possibilities. We have the digitalization process, again, related even to structural fund support, a lot of promotional measures. Very recently, we presented roadmap for circular economy, the related to renewable of used materials. I think we pretty have good pace in establishing renewable energy. So all in all, I think we are going forward.
It's very, very good to hear. Stepping back, what do you consider to be the major current and upcoming challenges of Industry 4 initiatives in Lithuania?
Well, answering to that question, I wish to say something about type or structure of Lithuanian industry. Mm-hmm. We are very heavily exporting industry. We are well incorporated in international production value creation chain. That is true. But at the same time, the major moment is that we are at the lower stage of those international value creation chains. Or in other words, we are mainly producing components rather than final, assembling cooperation or using profit, using goodwill or brand of let's say Mercedes-Benz or some similar Siemens or other companies. And that is really producing very heavily attitude of those participating business. In certain case, I can say that they are not so flexible, not they are acting on their own. They are always reflecting those to whom they are producing. Possibly best example would be IKEA, furniture industry. They simply, we are, I think, number 3 supplier of IKEA, all system in producing furniture and other, by the way, lamps and other products. So IKEA, they are asking and they are introducing rules of the game, starting even from forest certification. What you need produce, in which, Sweden is always like green attitude for business. And again, let's say we have electronic components for car industry. We have cable producers. Again, if Renault or Mercedes-Benz or other big names will turn into electric cars, this will be requirement of certain, components for that. But once they are producing what they are producing now, we are simply reflecting to that. Again, Lithuania, let's say, thesis that innovative activities in Lithuanian industry, it's pretty low. Again, explanation of that, simply you have pretty modern technology, you have very precise defined order, and you are producing that. Of course, this is competitive market. We are competing with our neighbors. We are competing with Turkey producers, etc. But again, having such a scale of order, assortment of order, you simply need to reflect that. And speaking about possible future, always looking for European Commission initiatives. Remember clusters, technology platforms, digital innovation hubs, and other initiatives which are very important for industry, like participation in program Horizon, Batteries Alliance, hydrogen, and very, very new initiative related to increasing European chip market. I think Commission looking for some at least minimum 20% of world market. And that is our weak place. As I mentioned, having in that initial stage, it's not necessarily participate in those programs I mentioned to you. But again, this is very big danger that you will remain in more distant future in that initial stage. What to do? We are more successfully in other convenient industries like plastic converters, textile, but the problem is, as I mentioned, with high value creation, and this is really a little bit danger that we can stay in that, well integrated, but unfortunately in initial production phases.
Great. Actually, since you mentioned value chain and positioning within higher portions of the value chain, when we look at it internationally, one of the main problems or challenges that a lot of countries are facing, not just companies, but also countries, concerns skills. What kind of skills are required for Industry 4, that the new paradigm, shall we say? Are they more hard, that is engineering kind of science, mathematics, engineering kind of things, or soft, which is more on the social science, networking kind of thing? I was wondering whether you can give us your view on the status of skills preparation in Lithuania, and whether there are significant gaps, and how do you think they should be addressed?
Yes, really, I can confirm that our members participated in Eurochambers. Eurochambers is umbrella organization, and some 52,000 of enterprises answered for each year very similar questions. And speaking about major problems in Lithuania business, two of them, it's mismatch of skills and shortage of labor force. Those probably two. Of course, very, very new and fresh problem is energy prices, but that seems like occasional or temporary price. But what related skills, it's really a problem. We have very shrinking labor market. So we are looking even for certain immigration process. We have a big portion of unemployees and long-term unemployees, but this is a separate story how to integrate, because simply not of all are willing to enter labor market. And I can confirm that this is problem. Of course, speaking about industry, we are looking not for social knowledge development. We're mainly looking for technical engineering. In that case, I see wish to mention two problems. One is, of course, quality of education. It is always we are in favor of more stronger mathematics, certain junior achievement, like try to create business entity while being at the school age. And the major problem Lithuania business is facing, this is business leaders considering, it's how to finally prepare young engineer or worker to be ready to work with the technological processes. And here we always pointing out German experience, dual learning. And all agree that this is not enough to be engaged only in professional school, some theoretical, let's say, technology always will be more newest and better in industrial enterprises rather than in professional schools. So we consider that it must be real dual learning. Basic knowledges you need to obtain there in professional technical schools, but then you need to turn and finally to adapt for readiness of enter technological working market. It always must be in the enterprise itself. And here we still have gap. We can't rationally divide time and rationally divide money. How much time you need to spend in professional schools and training, and then finally be in enterprise. Of course, we have good examples, especially in retraining long-term employees, when professional schools is initial, training. At the same time, you are checking if psychologically long-term an employee is willing to enter labor market, and after they say yes, after they have initial training, then they are turning into industrial enterprise. But this good example rather exception rather than rule. And third problem, we really, I think it's problem, we really have a lot of money for social fund, for financing of all possible training courses. But learning for me, it's always 9 months, starting from 1st of September up till June or July. And now we are more using like project approach. And let's say training of English. Suddenly, few million euro is put on that, and we are training English. Next year, no English, but we are training certain e-commerce. So it seems like jumping of topics. It seems like more equal. If we collect certain number of people, let's turn to Kaunas Technological University or professional technical schools. So again, here we can, yet not project-based, as I call jumping, projects, but rather than permanent and training process.
It's a very important point, and from our studies, it's also not only happening in Lithuania, but many other countries are having similar problems of mismatches and misalignments. And I was wondering whether, if I understand you correctly, are we talking about a better alignment between business needs, educators, educational institutions, programs, but also government, like how government decides its priorities instead of having this jumping from one year to another, priorities changing? Is that what you would expect to see, or what you wish to see is a better collaboration across these key players?
Yes, of course. I mentioned some kind of problems. The resolution is simply solving those problems for more attention in secondary education for technical lessons like mathematics, physics, more attention for very, very initial business skills development like junior achievement is doing. Then, of course, in university, technical university level, again, always we are speaking about structure of students, how many, university students could be enrolled into technical science and how many to social science. So we always speaking, this must be rational, in between and technical. And of course, the business, especially right now, some FDI, foreign direct investments, are coming, big factories, and they need very, very specific skills for hundreds of possible employees. And again, this must be professional schools and universities in advance, ready to very flexibly accept that. And dual learning, which we are unfortunately speaking, all know what it is, all know German experience, but unfortunately progress in Lithuania I can't enjoy.
Switching a little bit to perspective, when we look at Industry 4 around the world, there is a very big presence of government in most of these initiatives. The prime example, of course, is Germany, but France, Scandinavian countries. Okay, we'll not mention China because it does have a very important emphasis on China 2025. And I was wondering whether you can give us your perspective on what do you consider to be the key priorities of policy in support of Industry 4, public policy that is, in support of Industry 4 initiatives and planning?
I do not believe that government of Lithuania or some, let it be a neighboring country, Latvia or Poland, could produce some super specific, more efficient rather than neighboring countries public policy related to Industry 4.0 developments. And here I'm participating in our umbrella organizations, and my conclusion is that if we very correctly and efficiently will follow up what's happening from Brussels, it would be enough. Moreover, I remember very good sentence that any priority supported by €1 is not priority, and vice versa. If you didn't declare nothing about priority, but putting money into that, so it's in reality will be priority. So again, I mentioned already alliances. First of all, participation in Project Horizon. I can't imagine very modern high-tech industry without not participating efficiently in European programs. Not only this one, but there are a lot of programs, LIFE, Eureka for students, for enterprises, for scientific institutes, etc. We have a lot of business alliances, I mentioned, Batteries Alliance, Hydrogen Alliance, now seems will be Chips Alliance with 43 billion of euros devoted financial support from European Commissions. I've seen on the schedule 2 packages of circular economy European Commission this year present. So if we will correctly transfer all of that, that will be good moving forward. Again, textile will be requirements, for plastic conversion will be requirements. So all in all, we need to transfer that into local legal acts, into local initiatives, into local roadmaps or programs. We have certainly financial support for those measures, as I mentioned, Regional Development Fund, again, RRF, Recovery and Resilience Fund. It must be negotiated with the Commission. It is already structured financial support, what's for education, for green economy, for renewable energy. So I think if we will correctly follow all initiatives, I think that will be a good roadmap for Lithuanian industry to move forward toward Industry 4.0.
Good. My final question concerns any gaps. Is Industry 4 addressing all the relevant issues for sustainability, for competitiveness, for a better, shall we say, economic environment? Or are there any issues that you see as lacking, perhaps in terms of emphasis, that we should be focusing on? As you know, the discussion in Europe, especially in Brussels, has moved to Industry 5, which in many ways tries to address some of perceptions, perhaps, of lacking of emphasis in Industry 4 as a concept. Would you care to comment on that in terms of what do you see as current gaps?
You know, I wish to start not from 0.40 or 5.0, but simply from industry, simple possible industry. First of all, we have giants of economy. We have cement factory. We have fertilizers factory, different kind, both phosphatus and nitro. We have oil refinery. What will happen with that? Of course, steel production could be added, but this is not the case for Lithuania. So I think this is not clever manager of fertilizer factory, which itself will think how to move forward. I think we need fertilizers for food production. Still, we need diesel and petrol. We need cement for building construction. So I think for that kind of industry, it could be like model. It could be not one model, possibly 2 or even 3. What kind of technology? But I feel that we need those type of products, and those factories must be and to work in most efficient way. But we can't say that you are emitting CO2 and we will close. This is one part of business. Another part, as I already mentioned, we will follow initiative of such being producers of components. What will happen with those final assembling companies or such companies like IKEA? I think again, this could be view of some cluster rather than separately taking industrial enterprise in Lithuania. And thirdly, all remaining kind of industry, lasers, pharmacology, and which are acting on their own, I think they know mostly, in many cases, what they need to do. They are following good examples in worldwide competitiveness. We have enough support measures like for social fund, for regional development, e-commerce, digitalization, etc., etc. So I think that we need to segmentation of such type of industries and probably their own way to reach modern industry in the future.
Thank you. Please allow me to conclude by saying a grand thank you for your availability and extremely interesting and insightful comments on obviously what is a very important issue, not only for Lithuania, but for every country, especially in the continent of Europe, but also beyond. I trust most of the people who have watched us have found this discussion extremely useful. And I can guarantee you that it has been extremely useful for our team that is conducting research on the subject. Again, thank you for your availability and your insights.
Thank you, Professor.